happening in Kazakhstan. I was just in Kazakhstan. I don't know if you saw
Uh-huh.
that video.
I don't think I did. Okay. So first of all, I want to start off. Uh, Paul, thank you for being here with me. I want to
Mm-hmm.
recognize you for your work, for your amazing work, for the lean implementer that you are, that you have, taught many people to do so, including me. I read your book. I was very inspired by it, and I I think that today's world, especially with the fast-moving world, with so many distractions happening at once, um, especially with the younger generation, because our goal is to inspire people to do basically, to get even a better life than us. So we basically pave the way for many people with the work that we do. So um, so going back to the idea of learning what the one thing, right? Every person has the one thing in their life that they have, that they've inspired. Like, for instance, I can give an example in my life. When I was young, I didn't have the easiest childhood. I was at foster homes and different
Oh, wow.
places that I went through. I was born in Israel, actually, in Tel Aviv,
Right. Right.
until I was 8 years old, and then when I was 8 years old, I've been adopted here to the United States. And I can say
Wow.
that for for many years I've been dwelling on my past, like, how could this be happening to me? Why am I the victim? What's going on? And this and that. I always had that thoughts in my mind. And then I realized, obviously there's a lot of inner work involved, but one of the main things that I can say is, when I realized, when I read your book, is also lean can mean also in your mind as well. The thoughts
Mm-hmm.
that you have, can also impact your life, because that's the reality that we face. Our thoughts, our mind, the way how we speak, that's our reality, basically.
Exactly.
So if you can share with me, um, what how, like, for children, right? How will I teach for children this concept of lean? Because this is critical thinking, and critical thinking is very much, because of the so many distractions we have today, is we're being taken away from the critical mindset. So in your experience, what do you think, like, for my children, how would I teach them
Easy.
lean?
It's really easy.
Yes.
It's
Hmm.
interesting. It's an interesting conversation, and it's all very simple. Just as I lay out in my book, uh, you know, how to build a fun, lean culture. Children are naturally curious. It's the way God imbued us. God made us to be curious. What is critical thinking? To answer your question, what is critical thinking? When someone's curious about, well, if that, then why not this? And what happened if that? And asking questions. What is critical thinking? The ability to ask questions. Why? Why? In Japanese, we say nande, 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 In Spanish, we say por qué, por qué, por qué. In Hebrew, what do you say? How do you say why in Hebrew?
Ma means what? Ma.
Ma. Okay, there you go. So the issue is the critical thinking stems from curiosity, and children are naturally curious. What we do in our education system as office is don't facilitate the curiosity. We suppress it. We say, okay, we'll learn these rote subjects, learn this, not ever asking why and how can we do it better. If we create an educational system where we teach children to always ask why, how could we improve? How could we change? Why is this like this? Which they're naturally predisposed to doing. Teaching lean to children has got to be the easiest thing in the world, probably on a factor of 100 times easier than teaching an adult who has got preconceived ideas, who is afraid of failing in front of their peers. That's my
Mm.
answer. What do you think?
Wow. I love your straight answer. I love. And by the way, Paul, before I go any further, I just want to tell you, most people do interviews. The way how I look at my life, it's the interview. It's the inner view that I can have, the inner perspective I can have
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
different things, different subjects, which you just laid out to me, which is amazing because I was always curious as a child. I mean, in fact, I have like an engineer mind, if you will,
Hmm.
photographic memory or whatever that name might be. I like to remember things. I like to experiment things. And this is actually one of the reasons why I came across with you. And this is why we have the interview today, because I'm a very curious person. I always want to
Right.
learn. I always want to better myself. And as a child, I can say, whenever I had ideas, shut up, be quiet, go on the side,
Exactly.
stop nagging.
Exactly. So,
So
so my
I feel,
answer is very appropriate to you then. You deeply understand what I'm saying.
yes. Yes, yes. Not only deeply understanding, but because I've experienced it, I know what you're saying.
Hmm.
There's a big difference
Exactly.
between knowing and yeah, yeah, yeah.
And children are
Wow.
children. It's the way God made us. That's all there is. So, this whole thing that we talk about lean, I say from my perspective as a Christian, I'm assuming you're Jewish. Is that correct? You're Jewish? Okay. I say that all lean is the gospel laid out in a business suit. It's just the gospel dressed up in a business suit. So when we talk about lean has standards. There's standards ways you approach things so that you can measure whether or not you're improving or not. What is the 10 commandments? Right from the Torah, right? What is the 10 commandments? These are the standards by which God's people live so they can measure whether or not they're improving or whether or not they're declining. You
Right.
see, all lean is the gospel dressed up in a business suit,
Mm-hmm.
or in your vernacular, the Old Testament dressed up in a business suit. It's very
Wow,
simple.
wow. The idea of distinction, the idea of understanding, basically. It's well, if you start with a commandment, the first thing is to know that there is a God. So
A
first,
hundred percent.
you make that distinction. Once you have that distinction, okay, there's a God. Now what else is there? It's like
Mhm,
opening the
mhm,
curiosity,
mhm,
if you will.
mhm. I mean, you can't
And
walk through I live in the Dominican Republic a lot of times, and the nature here is incredible, and the water is beautiful, and the forest and the jungle is beautiful. If you don't look at what's going on around you and just be in total awe of creation, you've got to be brain dead. You've literally got to be brain dead. What God has created
yes,
and given us.
yes, yes, yes. And technically we are brain dead. I mean, if you think about our patterns that we all have, I mean, have you ever been exposed to Joe Dispenza?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I would love to expose you to this guy. So he's a doctor that came up with the idea of visualization. If he have
Hmm.
helped many people get out of sicknesses, chronic illnesses, even scientifically proven. He was able to
Right.
show it. Amazing, amazing work, amazing work. I'm so inspired by this guy. So what I love about him is that he teaches you that everything stems in our reality, it stems how we influence with our mind. If someone starts to feel not feeling good, for instance, if they start to focus on that, then you give life to that, which you don't want, right? We want to give
Hmm.
life to what we do want versus what we don't
Hmm.
want. So
Absolutely.
that's what I love about his work, and he has incredible interviews also, that I'm sure you can appreciate as well.
Well, I'll make a
Um,
comment about that. I have
mhm.
a saying that I learned from one of my mentors, Norman Bodak, and he told me the mind is a terrible master, but a wonderful slave. So when you talk about Joe in visualization, we are what we think. And if our mind can just go wild and think all kinds of crazy things, or we can be the master of our mind and really understand our potential, our true potential. So is your mind your master or is it your slave? Are you in control or is it in control and taking you down some crazy rabbit hole like you were saying earlier? Why is this happening to me? Why was I an orphan? Why was I this? Why was I that? And the reality of it is there are a lot of people in the world that have it, billions of people that have it way worse than you had it. And I understand that you had a difficult time, but there are many children in the world that have it way worse than you. And we have nothing in my mind but to be grateful that we were imbued with life and the opportunity we have. And here we're American citizens. I'm assuming you're American citizen, or at least you were growing up in America. What a country to grow up in. With all its flaws, what a country to grow up in. Try the Philippines, try Laos, try Cambodia, try Vietnam. You'll be singing a different tune. Try China, try
Wow.
Tibet, try
I can
Bhutan,
imagine. I can imagine. I can
try
imagine.
Bangladesh, try Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar. You see what I'm saying? Sri Lanka. All of a
Wow.
sudden your
Well,
paradigm changes.
well, one day we will have the opportunity to influence their consciousness as well, with God's help,
Mhm.
you know?
Absolutely.
Because, yeah, and speaking about the brain, the master of the brain, the interesting part is that the whole idea of Torah, the whole idea that God has given us the idea to, to keep what he gave us to keep, is the idea to master our mind. The whole
Mhm.
idea really, it's like heart, right? Our heart desires, and then it's mind over matter, mind over heart. Your
Mhm.
heart desires things, and then you say to your heart, God tells you, you know what, you can have whatever pleasure you want. You can, he gives you whatever, like he gives an open field. Go and enjoy
Mhm.
life, but enjoy it with intention, enjoy it with consciousness, enjoy it with whatever you do. Like we got, as you said, the opportunity here in the United States is that, you know, because there is open field for people, like an open platform, if you will, for people to express themselves, whether open a business, whether, whatever they want to do. Obviously, there's a lot of opportunities here, but at the same time, people don't get into the opportunities. A lot of times, you don't have people get into the opportunities, um, you know, or even or even getting the opportunities, basically the consciousness to even become that opportunity.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
question about it.
hmm Amazing, amazing. Wow. So, um, basically, what I also wanted to bridge the gap, the idea of, like we mentioned earlier in the interview about the school, and I know that most parents, I mean, even today, like I've noted, I mean, with my kids, I can talk actually about my kids. The school tells me, oh, we have a curriculum for them. They're going to have to follow this curriculum. And in
Mhm.
my mind, I'm thinking, what curriculum? Who curriculum? Who cares about curriculum?
Yeah.
I care about them growing the best of what they can. Be them, be you, like, express yourself and be yourself. And don't force up a curriculum that will never work, you
You know
know?
what I would say immediately, though? I'd say
Uh,
homeschool them. I would rarely trust my children to any uh, educational institution, whether it be a college or anything nowadays. I don't. I think the educational system in the United States is grossly lacking. And I'm a former school teacher in one of the largest public schools in the United States, Mark Keppel High School in California, and my wife is a school teacher. And I would not put my child in a public school if my life depended on it.
wow. Wow.
Never, 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 never. I would not. No way in hell would they ever don the base of a public school system.
hmm hmm
That's the way I feel about
And
it.
it,
Now that's coming from an educator. I was
wow.
trained to be an educator. I went to school to be an educator.
hmm hmm So basically, what you're saying is knowing what you know today, learning what you've learned until now, and then what there's learning today in school. You're saying it's a complete. Like, how would you compare it? If you look for that one thing.
Transgenderism. Are we serious? I mean, it's
What?
absolutely
What you?
insane.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
It's
Uh huh.
absolutely insanity what's going on in the schools today. I mean, and you only need to look at what's going on. Certainly, you can appreciate this from being a Jewish person. I mean, what the universities are doing, teaching, anti-Israel rhetoric with no educational background on what's happening in the Middle East, with no historical background, just pablum, just repeating pablum with no depth whatsoever. I tell people, I think I might have said this to you before in our pre-interview. I meet people who are anti-Israel, and you know what I tell them? I will pay for your trip to Israel right now, all expenses paid. Go to Israel and see what's really going on. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea. You walk down the street in Israel, you walk down the street in Jerusalem, and there's Arabs and there's Jews right next to each other, working together. You walk into the university, you've got an Arab president of the university, Jewish students, Arab and Jewish students interacting. You walk into factories, you have Arabs working in the factories, you have Jews working in the factories. You put those same Jews in Syria, in Lebanon, in Gaza, and they'll be killed immediately. You have no idea what you're talking about. You follow what I'm saying here?
Yes.
And the ignorance, and we're talking about the abject failure of our educational systems in the United States right now. It is so pathetic. I've never, at the university level, at the master's level, at the PhD level, the ignorance, the absolute baseless understanding of history and what has transpired, it is almost breathtaking.
Wow. Well, it's a hard thing to swallow, but it's the reality we have to all face. It's the reality we all have to face.
Yeah, the truth is a brutal thing. You know, a lot of people don't want the truth, and you have to see the truth.
Well, you have to see the truth, you have to know the truth, and we all have to know that by us in society, we're only going to get redeemed by trying and focusing and facing the truth.
You know, I'll tell you a story. Interesting. I went to school in Germany. I went to school in the United States, but then I had a abroad program in Germany. I took a semester in Germany and studied German history, language, and culture. And I love Germany. It's a beautiful country, beautiful people. And but I went to school there in 1982. And you know, I was raised. I was born in the 60s, so we spent a lot of time underneath our desk from worrying about nuclear war, and we'd get underneath our desk in case of some kind of a potential nuclear strike from Russia. And I grew up understanding or being taught the evils of communism. But that wasn't enough for me. Sure, the history books told me that. Sure, my father told me that. Sure, my teachers told me that. But was it true? Was it true? So when I was in Germany in 1982, I got on a train and I traveled through East Germany at night. And in the middle of the night, the East German guards came into the train with their guns and, looked at my passport and were pretty rough. And then in the morning, I finally arrived in West Berlin and I got out of the train and I went to a famous place called Checkpoint Charlie. And this is a maze of gun towers and barbed wire where you would cross from West Berlin into East Berlin. And the entire time I was walking through this maze, the guards were trained on me with guns. And then I got into East Germany. And the contrast between the West and the East was 10 times worse than my teachers told me. The buildings were still burned out in 1982 in East Germany from the war in 1945. And West Berlin was beautiful, thriving, people with smiles on their faces, beautiful restaurants, stores, paved streets. And East Germany was a living nightmare. And then I crossed over from Italy into Yugoslavia under Tito, again, to see what communism really looked like. And I knew for a fact that it wasn't just what my teachers were teaching me and my father was teaching me, but I saw it with my own eyes, the results. And this is that curiosity we started the whole conversation of. I was curious. Is it true? It was critical thinking. Am I just going to believe what people tell me, or am I going to investigate on my own? That's why I say, you're anti-Israel? No problem. Paul will pay for your trip right now. Let's go to Israel. Let's see if you still think the same thing after you go there.
Wow. Well, this is the truth, basically. Once we all face the truth, we can see and know, because technically all we want, I mean, I can say from a Torah perspective or what Jewish people have been taught, is to always be givers, always, open hands, open houses, open foods. Like we just that's what we have been taught. I mean, that's our philosophy from the core. And that's why you see us also thriving together, working together, because that's
Thriving,
what we're
thriving.
about.
And you want to talk about, people ask me, why are the Jewish people so powerful? Why are they so successful? Family, number one, family. Number two, education, a focus on their children being educated at a high level. Go to school, learn, 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 learn. I mean, it's all basic. It's all very academic what they're doing. And every culture that does that, if it's the Japanese culture, the same thing. They excel.
Hmm.
But when you diminish education and family and unity, what the net result is obvious.
Wow. Yes, yes, yes. The crumble happens right in front of our eyes
Right in front
by
of you. And what are
wow.
they doing in the United States? I mean, I don't want to go political, but they're diminishing the family, the importance of the family. Come
Right,
on.
right,
What do the Jewish people do? The importance of the family. Why are they so incredibly strong and powerful as a country? The family, education,
right, right.
teamwork.
Which, by the way, God intended the world to be that way.
It's basic. It's all basic. Honor your father
Wow,
and mother. Treat others as you would want to be treated.
wow. I'm very inspired by you, Paul, by the way.
Thank you.
Wow,
Well,
you're a
I
true.
appreciate your desire to learn and improve. It's very important. Not everybody wants to.
Yes, yes. And especially in my community, by the way, just to let you know, the reason why I came up with you in an interview, I mean, in my community, I don't think anyone knows about lean thinking, whoever I spoke to. And whenever I would say lean, they would think, oh, it's a diet or whatever. So I am working on, so I am,
Well, it can be. I've written a book called Lean Health. So I applied lean principles, critical thinking to the way I manage my health. And indeed, that worked famously. I started asking myself, how come I seemingly eat good food all the time, but I'm still overweight by 40 pounds? How come? And it doesn't matter what I do, I don't lose weight. How come? Well, maybe there's something in the food that I'm eating that's causing that. What could it be in the food that's causing that? I look on the package. I don't look at the nutrition label because the nutrition label is all BS. I look at the ingredients. And what is the key ingredient that's almost in everything from bacon to salad dressing to taco dressing to bread to pizza sauce? You name it, there's one key ingredient in every one of those things. And what might that be?
is it high
Sugar.
fructose corn? Sugar.
Yeah, sugar.
High
They
fructose
call
corn
it
syrup.
yeah, they call it all kinds of different things. All kind.
Hmm.
They call it who knows? They've invented so many names for it to disguise people and fool me. And you take that one ingredient, just one ingredient, and at 65 you look like me. A six pack
Hmm.
ripped in the water every day in great health.
Wow.
Right?
That's
One
amazing. That's
ingredient.
amazing.
One
Yes.
ingredient. It's in everything.
Hmm. Hmm. And the truth is, I can also talk for me. When I eat fruits, I mean, I used to also believe in all kinds of diets. You got to eat grains, you got to eat protein, and this and that. It's all great and good, but when I take God's food, which has like avocado, for instance, that's
Perfect.
pure,
Nutrition.
nutrition. And
Pure
when I
nutrition.
eat that, I can go out to the bathroom much easier. It's
Everything.
everything. My body feels greater. Like there's no comparison. There's
Oh,
really
yeah,
no
yeah.
comparison.
And you open up a package and it's like killing yourself. It's like poison. What they put in food is so staggering. It's almost unbelievable.
Right,
But it's
right,
our
right.
fault. It's not their fault. It's our fault because we're not curious enough. Going back to our original, curious enough to look on the back of the package and say, what are they putting in this stuff?
Right.
Healthy granola bars. It says healthy granola bars. You turn it over and you go, my gosh, it's literally poison. If it says healthy on the package, it's poison.
Hmm. Hmm. God's
Turn
foods
over and look
don't
at the
have to tell.
ingredients.
Yes, yes. Well, the fruits and vegetables don't have to write on them what the ingredients are. You
Yeah,
see it
that's
just
the
by
beautiful.
the.
That's why my diet is simple: 80% fruits and vegetables, 20% protein. Knock yourself out all day long. It's that simple.
Amazing,
You open a
amazing.
package, you kill yourself.
Right, right. And I also have a brother actually that is a vegan. He told me nothing is wrong to even try to overeat on fruits. You can't
It's
even go wrong.
impossible. If you're eating fruits and vegetables, it's pretty darn difficult to overeat. I mean, it's
Yes.
possible, but it's pretty difficult.
Right, right. Because at some point, the interesting thing is you feel saturated. You don't feel overfilled.
Hmm.
With most of the processed food, you feel actually full, which you feel the weight in your body.
Right, right,
But
right,
with the
right. And
fruits, you
the worst thing is juice. People get all juice is like it's just pure sugar. You're taking all the fiber from the fruit. You're taking all the nutrition that the fruit gives you. I mean, it's crazy. I don't drink any juice. I eat voluminous amounts of fruit.
oh you wouldn't like do like a shake, like a fruit shake or things like that.
I actually eat a smoothie every day. But you know what's in my smoothie? You ready for this?
Hmm.
Almonds, walnuts, uh, pineapple, uh, uh, cauliflower, broccoli. I just go ginger, cinnamon. It's just unbelievable amounts of different vegetables and fruit. I put everything: berries, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, and I blend that up. But it's the whole food. It's not just the juice. I don't extract just the nectar.
Uh-huh,
I'm not a
got it.
bee. I'm not a bee. I'm not a hummingbird that beats their wings, 1,000 times a minute. I'm a human
Hmm.
being. I don't need straight sugar. Does that
Got
make
it.
sense?
Good. Yes, yes, yes.
I
Got
drink
it.
smoothie
Got it.
every day, actually, but
Uh-huh,
it's got
uh-huh.
tons of vegetables and fruit in it. The whole fruit.
Amazing, amazing. Wow. So this is the reason why it keeps us conscious. Whatever we do is what we
Completely.
eat is what we are.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
All right. So Paul, I'm very excited to talk to you. I why don't you share something that you want to share with me? Because there's so many things I want to talk
Yeah.
about,
Sure.
but
Sure. Sure. Well, I would say that the biggest transformation in my life happened uh, when I learned about lean thinking, and that's how you found out about me. And lean thinking is simply something that the Japanese developed at a very high level. They learned it from the United States, they learned it from Henry Ford, but then they developed it at a very high level. And in essence, Toyota mastered it. And it's based on basically one simple principle that there are I got to make sure I hold up the right number of fingers, 8 kinds of waste. And those wastes start with when you make too much of something. So you make too much of something. The customer says, I want 10 cars, but you make enough parts for 100 cars. So you overproduce. Now you have to transport that overproduction into inventory. Okay, so you got transportation, then inventory. Then you have to over process it because you find a defect. So defect and then an over process and then excess motion. Then the customer's waiting while you're doing all this stupid work. And then you've wasted the potential of yourself because you're caught up in this waste stream of managing the overproduction. So those 8 wastes, that changed my life. When I realized that that was happening all around me in everything I was doing, from how I was making my lunch to how I was getting my car keys to how I was answering communications to how I was collecting information to how I was developing products, because I'm a product development guy. I have 2,000 products on the market. And I realized that if I could identify those 8 wastes in every process that I was doing in life, that I could unlock potential that would be astronomical. And so I became an expert at seeing those wastes. And the rest is history. My life took off like a rocket ship. My business took off like a rocket ship. I wrote a book about it. The book's in 20 languages. And it was the biggest revelation in my life about improving the quality of my life.
hmm wow, wow, this is amazing. Now, what I'm wishing for, with God's help, I'm gonna try at least, is that this message, this critical thinking, these processes should be taught literally to every human being because they do deserve a better life. Most of us are caught up into problems, issues, the past.
With no
This is
problem solving
basically
skills.
Right, right. No problems with it. And we're fortunate enough to learn about it, or at least to be conscious about it. So we do have, I guess, the duty or obligation to at least share with the world, you know what, you can live a better life. You can live a more awesome life by, being awesome. Being awesome is
Mhm.
what we do.
Yeah, and we just need to simply, as a leader and someone who's responsible for other people's lives in my company, I feel a moral obligation to develop them, to help them not just see how much money I can make with their assistance, but actually to develop them as human beings. And so that's the essence of what my book's about, is how to develop this culture where you're developing people and do it in a fun and enjoyable way. So I basically teach people to see waste and then to solve the problems of eliminating that waste. And we just do that same thing over and over and over again. And in my case, we use our telephone to make short videos showing the world how you found out about me, again, the problem and the solution. Every day, the problem and the solution. We made thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of videos we've made showing people our problems and our solutions. We posted them on YouTube, and the thing went crazy. And it's such a simple model. We teach people to see waste. We teach people to solve their problems and make an improvement, document the improvement, create a standard. This is the way it is. And then people see that and they look at it and they go, oh, if that's the way you're doing it now, what if we did this? And then the standard keeps improving and the waste keeps being eliminated, and we get to the greatest efficacy in the way we work. That's what
Hmm.
we're doing.
Hmm.
It's very simple.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And this can actually apply anywhere in our life. Anywhere in our life,
Of
basically.
course, of course. It applies to everything in our life, because why? Because everything we do is a process. How you're recording this video right now is a process. How you communicated with me is a process. How you prepared for this interview is a process. How I prepared for this interview is a process. Last night, I got into my hotel room, clicked on the computer before I even rented the apartment that I'm in right now. I confirmed with the person I was renting, what is the speed of the internet speed? I have 2 video conferences in the morning. Can you verify? Can you send me a screenshot so I can see what the upload and download speed is so we have no interruptions? That's part of the process. That I got into the room at midnight last night, logged on, confirmed the internet was connected so I would not be struggling in the morning, very early in the morning, getting ready for this, confirmed that it all worked, ran a speed test, found your message, clicked on it, saw that I had the link for everything, sent you a message, told you everything's prepared. Boom. These are all processes. I didn't
Hmm.
happen. I didn't do it in a shoot from the hip for, what do I do? What I'm chaos? Oh crap! There's no. You see the difference?
Yes.
Everything you do is a process. You need to be deliberate and thoughtful about that, and then
Hmm.
learn from that experience and say, oh, how can I adjust that? The reason why it went off well with no problems is because I was careful about the way I did it from past experience. I learned and improved, learned and improved, learned and
Hmm.
improved.
Hmm. Hmm. So, as a leader, the one thing I'm learning from you is that you're always looking for the next thing, right? Like
Absolutely.
that's in your
The
mind.
next
What is
improvement, the
next?
next improvement.
Hmm.
And I do that by simply saying, fix what bugs you. What bugs me is getting into a hotel and the internet speed being crappy. How do you solve that problem? Before you rent the hotel or before you rent the apartment, you confirm the speed level, the
Right.
connectivity, right? You
Right.
confirm you have the link from you. You confirm the time. I confirmed the time with you several times. I made sure we had everything right. I didn't just say, "Oh,
Right.
I think." No, I didn't do any of that. I was very
Yeah.
careful and very deliberate about what I did. So, and now we're going to get to a higher level of thinking right now, so that I have flow in my life, not
Right. Right.
flow in my life. Flow. The key is flow. Smooth. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast.
Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. No bones.
But everyone's running around. Oh man, everyone's happy to send 4 emails to answer a question that should take 1. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You're like, why can't you get me the correct information the first time?
Right, right. It's funny as an outsider, but as a leader, it can get frustrating because there's so many things you have to follow through, and if someone is not on time, not on schedule, then you're frustrated. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. So a good example of what you just said is Japan. So I teach in Japan. I teach Japanese excellence, and I bring leaders from around the world to Japan. I've trained over 1,000 top leaders from all over the world in Japan, from almost, I think, 40 countries now. And we take them to Japan, and there's 125 million people in Japan. 125 million in a tiny little island the size of California. So imagine putting 125 people. California is already a little chaotic, right? You go to Los Angeles, already a little chaotic. So imagine taking 125, 4 times the number of people, and putting them in California. And how would California function? Like,
Mm.
hell, you'd run for the hills, right? But in
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Japan, you have that many people concentrated in the smallest area because 80% of Japan is all mountains, so they can't even occupy it. So everybody is situated just along the coast in about 8 different cities.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is on time. Everything runs smooth. There's no traffic in Tokyo. The trains operate to the second. To the second. There's nobody pushing and shoving. There's no crime. There's no graffiti. There's basically no homelessness. Everybody's courteous and polite. How do you do it?
Wow.
I mean, it's like no other
Mm-hmm.
place in the world because these
Mm-hmm.
people are thinking at a very, very high level. They
Wow.
fixing their processes. They're improving their processes. They're not tolerating low levels because if they do that, then they have this chaotic imbalance. And when you create a chaotic imbalance with 125 million people, you've got a disaster on your hand. But if you can create good processes, you could manage 125 million people in complete and total flow.
Wow.
It's breathtaking.
Incredible.
And
Incredible.
that's what I'm all about right there, what I just explained to you. Fix your
Wow. I feel
processes,
like
be in flow.
I feel like coming there myself now.
Oh, it's the most amazing country on the planet.
Wow. Wow. This is
Nothing,
amazing.
no place is even close. No place is even close. A lot of countries have done some great things, but what Japan has done has been miraculous. And with no resources, mind you. No oil, no resources.
Wow.
Incredible
This is
economy, highest standard of living, highest longevity of life.
wow.
Pretty breathtaking.
Interesting. And where does this come from? Like obviously 125 million people, they had to get their education somewhere. So
Yeah.
does it start
Well,
with the school?
yeah, absolutely. And then we take you to the schools. In my program, we take you to the schools so you can see how young children work together as a team. They have 2 sayings in Japan. One is gambarimasu, which means I will do my best. And the other one is yakusoku mamoru, which means I will keep my promise. These are the 2 fundamental principles that Japanese children are taught. Every time you do something, you're going to do your very best and you will keep your promise. If you're going to say something, you're going to say something, you're going to do it. No one's going to follow up with you. You are going to follow through. And the kids are happy, they're engaged. It's breathtaking. 2
Wow.
principles, 2 simple principles.
Hmm. Wow. It's amazing. I mean, I should have taught my kids about this.
Yeah,
Just
well, that's
promise
what
you
I was saying. Well, it's funny. I sent you a video. You weren't able to watch it before. A minute-long video that I've taught over 300 leaders just from Kazakhstan about this principle and brought them to the Japanese school. And now the president of the company is now building Japanese-style schools in Kazakhstan, and he has 37,000 children in private schools that he's built, teaching them these same principles. It's
hmm.
unbelievable. So inspiring.
Wow. So in the United States, we don't even get close to that. We're getting more militarized, I think, is
It's
what it
crazy.
is.
It's crazy what they're doing. It's insane. Like I said, I wouldn't let
Hmm.
my kids don the doors of a institution that teaches educational institution in the United States. My life depended on that includes Harvard, Princeton, Columbia, those schools are absolutely abject failures. Abject failures. The people that
Wow.
come out of those nowadays, when I listen to what they're thinking, their reasoning, it's almost staggering.
Mm-hmm.
It's disgusting, to be honest with you. When I went to college, my teachers taught me one thing: critical thinking. This is what I think. Tell me how I'm wrong. This is what you think. Let's debate. Always, constantly, civil debate back and forth about opposing ideas. Now it's
Instead.
indoctrinate. Now it's indoctrination.
Mm-hmm.
Fascist, Nazi. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
insane. It's insane what's going on.
So it's an open-ended conversation. Once you just call someone, you're an idiot, you don't
Yeah,
exist, you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
matter,
Not
then
yeah,
then it's
exactly. It's all name calling. It's so baseless. It's so adolescent.
wow.
If
All
you
right.
don't if you don't
Mm-hmm.
believe if you don't believe if you're not if you're for instance if you don't believe in climate change, you're a denier. I mean, we can't debate it. We can't debate it. Are you kidding me? Have you been to Antarctica? Well, I have. Do you know that the ice is 8 miles thick there? Did you know that?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
no. I mean, it's just like it's unbelievable. It's almost staggering when you listen to these people because there's no dialogue. You're a denier. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
really. So I don't get the vaccine. I didn't get the vaccine, and I'm some kind of vax denier, some kind of conspiracy. Meanwhile, did you know that I'm 64 years old and I traveled all over the globe during COVID? I never stopped traveling once. I visited country after country. I literally went from country to country that was open. If the country closed, I went to another country. I was on planes, trains, on. I never wore a mask. Look at me. I survived it. Why? Oh, you're a denier. You don't get the vaccine, you're dead. Really? Where's the facts for that? Tell me where the facts are for that.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
no
yeah.
honest
That's
debate about it. There's no honest debate anymore. It's crazy.
yes.
When
Yeah, yeah.
when I was young, my father was a liberal and I was more conservative leaning. Every night at the dinner table, we would debate politics. It was wonderful. We had a beautiful time. He would debate his point, I would debate my point, blah, 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 back and forth. It was beautiful. That's what we did. That's the American way. The
Mm-hmm.
free exchange of ideas. You only have to watch what Elon Musk has done. Why did he buy Twitter? Why did he buy Twitter? Freedom of speech. We're censoring everything.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
very essence, going back to what I said at the start, critical thinking stems from curiosity and an honest dialogue about why. Elon Musk obviously understands the importance of that. He spent $40 billion to secure some modicum of free speech in this world. I don't know if you watched the news recently. Zuckerberg said that they were censoring everything. He admitted it. Facebook was censoring everything. Is that America?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the critical thinking? Is that the American way? I told you the institutions, Harvard, Cambridge, Yale, abject failures, because they are propagating this nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not to mention our public school systems are a disaster. And that's coming from an
Mm-hmm.
educator. Remember, I'm not just anybody. I'm an educator. And I've been in 130 countries. So I've been around the block. I've seen it.
You've seen it, you know it. Wow. Wow. So may God bless all of us and our leaders, and especially the new generations. I mean, let's face it, the things that we live in this world is the ideas, the impact that we do on others and others' lives. And I think this was a great interview. Like I said, an interview, because it's the inner understanding of what's going on in the world, despite all the nonsense and crap that's going on. I mean, I can tell you, for me, when it started, the word about COVID and the vaccines and all that, I told my wife and I told my kids and all my immediate family and my friends, everyone, don't think about it. Don't even, I dare you, I warn you for your life. And then I follow up with that, is that, let's face it, how did you know about it? Who told you about it? Your stupid phone. If you wouldn't have a phone, you would not know about it. You wouldn't
Exactly.
know about it. It's only your smoking screens in front of you that showed you a video or like an emotional something, and you got triggered. Stop being triggered and do nonsense. And that's what I said to everyone, and they understood it. They really understood it. Like, you're right.
Sure.
You know, it's
Exactly
critically
right.
thinking. So
As
wow.
soon as they
Mhm.
started saying that, I said, "Oh, well, here we go with the biggest con job in world history. Watch it unfold right in front of us."
Well, I like to learn from everything good. So I told my brother, when they hit COVID very hard, I told him, you see, when we're going to pound our great ideas and our great companies, this is how we should do it. They
Yeah.
show us everywhere. Go in stores, go on the blocks, go on streets, go flyers, go on media, go everywhere. Make the world, make a storm in the world. Everyone in the world should talk about you. That's how you get marketing and
Great,
branded.
great, crazy. Well, they did a good job of it, didn't they?
Yeah, they definitely did. I mean, there were so
And
many
thrust
crazy stories.
and the same time put 100 million people into poverty, destroyed
Yes,
businesses
yes,
around the world, destroyed small companies around the world. Meanwhile, the global companies like Amazon and everyone, they did just fine.
yes.
And all the small restaurants that people had worked and dreamt about all their life out of business. Yeah, a little critical
Right,
thinking goes a long ways in life. But you got to
right,
be honest with
right.
yourself. That's why I say, I'll go back again to my original conversation. Oh, you're anti-Israel. No problem. Well, if you're anti-Israel, let me pay for your trip to Israel. And if you're still anti-Israel, then that's fine, because you've seen with your own eyes what's actually going on there.
Hmm, hmm.
Did you know that thousands and thousands and thousands of Gazans come across every day into Israel and work and are paid? Are you aware of that? That Israel does that every day? No, that can't be. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. That's
Right,
exactly what
right.
happens.
Well, we wanna. It's like, I think the United States, when they started, they built their self strong around the world through democracy. I guess through
Freedom
giving
of speech,
opportunities.
freedom of
Freedom.
speech. Yeah, and sovereignty of the individual. And our founding fathers were the greatest team ever assembled. The greatest team in the history of the world that's ever assembled were our founding fathers that created this amazing country. And
Wow.
the very principles that they founded this country on are being systematically destroyed.
Well, in a way, we can look at it systematically destroyed, but at the same time, we can look at it that the world is getting ready for a new era, for
I hope
something
so.
new,
I hope so. I
something
hope
new.
so.
Because we have been promised by God that a new era will come.
Yeah.
And sometimes it gets dark before it gets light, and it
Sure,
gets
sure,
very dark.
sure.
So with God's help, I'm hoping that with this interview, we can impact other people and other influencer and other leaders to become critical thinkers, number one, to inspire the younger generation to become like the Japanese
Right,
culture.
right. The
And
key is you and I must speak up intelligently and with facts and with courage. Intelligently, with facts, and with courage.
courage. Wow. I want to take a deep moment for a second to think about what we just, everything we talked about. This is ideas like, if I would, let's say, look back at this interview 10 years from now, people would say, wow, this is how the world really was. So I want to take a minute to acknowledge your work and your persistence that you do,
Mhm.
and the idea that you want to grow people and you're growing people. And that the simple facts, I'm sure they're getting even impacted in their own life, with all these ideas, the people in your company or whatever else who's working with you. So I wanted to thank you. I want to, I do you have anything else to share now, or?
I will say
Mhm.
one last thing that I think could be helpful to your listeners. Um, One of the main founding principles of lean thinking is something called the Gemba. And the Gemba is the Japanese word for the place where the work is done. We call it the shop floor. And in order to know the truth about life, you must go to where the work is done. That's why I said to you earlier that, if you're anti-Israel, there's no problem. Go to the Gemba, go to Israel and see. And then if you're still anti-Israel, go, no, there's no problem. If you have a problem, don't just solve the problem theoretically. Go to where the problem is, get your hands dirty, and deeply understand it. And then you'll operate with real information. So the concept of Gemba is so important for every individual's path to enlightenment and real understanding. Go and see at the place where it's happening.
By the way, in Hebrew, Gamba means Ga means also, Ba there, Gamba.
Really? Also there. Gamba. Wow, I didn't know that. Isn't that interesting? So there's really a direct correlation. Wow, how interesting.
Yeah.
How fascinating. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Okay, well,
Yeah.
there you go.
All right, Paul. Thank you very
It's a
much. I'm
pleasure,
very
Asher.
grateful. I cheer you
Anytime.
on.
Thank
And
you.
with God's help, I'm gonna post this. I'm gonna hear from other people what they say. Maybe people want to get into other topics, that they want us to break down more. We'll see.
Right.
But I want to thank you for now. Whatever
Anytime.
whatever it was, it's this ideas that we talked about today. It's ideas that needed to be here and needed to
Sure.
take place and needs to take place in every single human in this world, really. And any
Absolutely.
single living soul really needs to know this idea of critical thinking. So I want to
Good.
thank you again. God bless you.
Absolutely.
Make it a great day.
Absolutely. Thank you, Asher.
Okay. Thank you for now. Bye.